Hi there, friends. It's a little afternoon on Sunday, so it's time for the Sunday Sketch. Today we will be continuing our little Sonic adventure, and we'll be drawing Knuckles the Echidna, if I can find my file. There it is. So we drew Sonic and Tails previously, and I think, as you can see, I think they turned out pretty well. But today, we're not going to focus on either of those. We're going to focus on the one with the weird freaking head, Knuckles. Now, so let's actually so that's Tails. I'm going to put Tails in a little folder all by himself. And then we can put him away for now. Okay, cool. These look like layers I don't need, so we're all freshened up. We're going to use this same document, more or less, to just look at some of the shape language of Knuckles and try and understand exactly how to draw him. Now, for Knuckles, he's a little bit of an odd one, so I'm going to go ahead and bring in even more reference. Let's see what we can find. So this is a pretty good one. This is from Sonic Advanced. So it's a little bit different than his classic look, but it is Knuckles' look hasn't changed that much. I think is what I'm trying to say. So gonna bring that into our image, hopefully. There we go. There's Knuckles. We're gonna size him. Well, first we're gonna go ahead and try and cut out some of this blackness. Nope, that also cuts out a lot of his line work. Okay, that's fine. We're just gonna size him down then. Now, as you can see, not too much has changed between this version of Knuckles and the classic Knuckles. One thing, of course, is his eyes are different. I think the length of his legs and torso versus his body, like all of those dimensions are a little different, and I think his tail might be longer. But otherwise, fairly similar in most respects. So, really, I just wanted a different angle of Knuckles so that I could look at one thing in particular. And I'm going to go ahead and point it out, is his head actually has a really weird shape to it. So, you see the top of his head is there. The front of his head, is like right there. So his head actually has this long egg shape like that, and the back of his head is actually taller than the front of his head. And when I was looking at Knuckles, I was like, there's no way. But it does appear that is how he is done. And I can pull up a sprite of him too. Nice old style. If I can find it. There we go. So you can actually find on the internet somewhere, you can find a sheet of like all of his sprites from the original Sonic and Knuckles game, and that'll help reinforce this idea. So we're gonna have to zoom in real close here, and as you can see, it's got all of the different sprite things, but you can look real close here at one of his idle animations, right? And it's the same thing. His head is like that, and that. It's still got this weird egg shape with the top of his head being tilted up and the front of his head being tilted downward. So that's the first odd thing that I noticed about Knuckles, and I just wanted to bring in that reference so that I could make sure that I didn't somehow mess it up and get it wrong. Because of course, when you're doing studies like this and you're drawing characters like this, you want to make sure that you get it as close to the real thing as possible. So he's got a weird egg-shaped head. His the top of his head is actually tilted. His head is tilted so that the front of his head is down and the top of his head is up. Then he's also got kind of an egg-shaped body, if you notice. Classic Knuckles, anyway, does. Let me use a sharper pencil for this. I say sharper pencil, but they're brush settings. You understand. So, weird egg head, kind of egg-shaped body, right? And then his noodle legs and arms, they don't noodle out as much as Sonic and Tails do. They're much more solid and jointed and a little shorter. He's actually got what appear to be shorter legs. And then of course his feet have the shoes with his Lego shoes. They're very segmented and grounded in different shapes and stuff too. So anyway, now that we kind of got a feel for it, so he's got this egg-shaped head. He's got these sort of rounded triangle eyes, right? And then his snout is also sort of triangle shaped, but it's pointed down. So when we come in and we draw his head and we assign curves for where his and his eye placement and stuff, we're gonna take the line of the nose. Here, I'll try and show you, right? So when we assign this kind of value, right, we're going to take the line from where we want our nose, and we're just going to come straight out and make sort of a three-dimensional triangle from that. Of course, with an egg-shaped head, but it's going to be a little weird. Knuckles just has a lot of awkward shapes. So hopefully that information will help us, and I'm going to just go ahead and get started on our Knuckles. So here we go. Also, welcome everybody to the chat. I've done an analysis of some shapes on Knuckles, and we're gonna get into drawing him right now. So of course he's got this egg-shaped head, right, and this egg-shaped body. Right, and he actually does seem to have a little bit of a gap between his head and his shoulders, unlike Sonic and Tails. It does look like he has a lot more of a neck, right? So we're gonna have him like flex and show off, right? So he's gonna be like and his feet are much more like bricks. They're much longer and squarer, at least the shoes are. And I'm actually going to go ahead and tilt his head. So instead of drawing it that same oval shape, we're actually going to bring it this way. And again, he's got that kind of elongated alien queen head sort of thing going on, which is very awkward, I think. So that's going to be our pose. We've got our pose, and I'm going to go in and draw the next layer. And this is going to be where we establish our eyes and everything. So here goes. Hopefully the information here will be helpful, that he does have a very awkward shaped head, and an egg-shaped body and all those sorts of things. Hopefully that's helpful information to everyone at home. And you can use it to draw your own egg-shaped echidnas. Then I'm going to put in his muzzle, which again has that triangular kind of shape to it. And he's got the same kind of eyes that Sonic and Tails had. And then his head actually comes kind of to a point up here. And then he's got his like dreadlock hair quill things. And those, let's just do a quick peek here. Those actually come about to the middle of his body. So they come like all the way down here. Right? And then we're gonna draw in his body, refine the pose a little bit as we go along, and of course he's got his big fists, and his gloves are pretty basic. They don't have any neat attachments to them like Tails. You know, he doesn't have the bracelets, but he does have, they are more mitteny. So he does have thicker bands on them, and they're very mitteny. And then his hands are like a rounded square thing. And he's got a thumb, but he doesn't, again, his gloves are very mitteny, so he has sort of this rounded square where his fingers go. And then the knuckles kind of sit on top of that. Now, the important part is the knuckles do pretty much show as being oddly not where his knuckles are. Here, I'll show you. There we go. So, if we look at Knuckles' actual knuckles, right? If you look at the way his hand is broken up, you look at it like in planes, right? So this being the back part of his hand, and then this is where his fingers curl, because that is where his fingers would curl. And then the knuckles come out right here and here. And that seems very strange, because actual knuckles are like here, right? So you would expect his knuckles to come out like that, but they actually come out a lot further down on his hands. So Not sure what kind of monstrosity, you know, monster creature hands he's got going on hidden under there, but he's got some monster creature hands underneath those monster, ginormous gloves. So, anyway, just a quick little observation, you know. And we're just going to sort of flesh out some shapes. Now, his body is actually turned this way in the pose that I'm doing, if you see that. And then there's his waist. So we're going to attach his tail kind of about here in the back. And he's got this big zigzaggy tail. So we're going to use some foreshortening. And the end of the tail always points kind of out, not necessarily down. So I got to adjust that, because I have it pointing down. And then you use your foreshortening to make it look like it's going out from the body. Okay. Now he's got these very solid looking green rings on his shoes. And then his shoes are also very solid looking, very wide and boxy. And they're kind of broken up into segments. So like this part on top has those like Lego bits, the like metal parts of his shoe. And then he's got an interesting shape here as well, where that part is also yellow. Okay? So we're gonna fill in his head spikes a little, and he's got, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, and 2 of them seem to come more forward, so I'm gonna add some in that are more forward on his body, or on his head rather. And that should do it. I think I'm going to bring his head down a little bit on his body. Another thing to note is he's got that moon, that like crescent shape, like right here. So that's another thing to keep track of. My pose kind of hides it a little bit, but it is something to keep track of. Okay? So I'm going to fade this out, and I'm going to go to my next layer. As you do. Ooh, excuse me. Water break. Ugh. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little rough around the edges today. So we're gonna just keep refining our idea, as we have done many times before. Hopefully this pose isn't like a racist thing. He's just kind of doing that warm-up shoulder thing that he does. He's not doing a fist salute. That's not the intent of this pose. Because he's gotta warm up. So he's doing his little thing where because he does that. He has an idle animation where he actually grabs his shoulder and kind of rolls it around and stuff. So that's where I'm getting my inspiration for this. And I will say this, it is a little odd for him to be facing to the right, or to my left, sorry, and his shoes not match that facing. So I'm going to go ahead and flip his shoes around. With just a quick transform, move that over a bit. And there we go. That looks more reasonable. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the chat. I'm just drawing Knuckles. I've kind of done some analysis of shape and stuff. He's got this weird egg-shaped head, kind of like the alien queen, I noticed. So now I'm just refining my ideas and drawing in the more details. Ooh, that's a little much. Give him his little dots on his shoes. How's your weekend going, everybody? Gonna make sure we draw his thumb in there. And then I'm actually gonna draw his head a little bit lower than I did before. He's got sort of a pointy cone nose. A lot of stuff on Knuckles looks a lot more like solid as far as shapes go. So alright, let's see how it looks. Not too bad. Alright. I think I drew him a little bit closer to what modern Knuckles looks like than classic Knuckles. I think his body's a little rounder. I think his eyes are a little bit sharper too. Yeah, a little bit. So go ahead and iterate on that a little bit. Come in here, get in real close. I'm gonna take the pencil size down. I'm gonna give him the thick upper eye bit that I like to do. That's just me. My own style that I'm kind of effusing into this. Effusing, suffusing? I'm not sure which word is the correct one to use in that case, honestly. Man, I remember when Knuckles came out. He was so cool because it was I think the cool factor came from like the whole like how different he was from Sonic. He was very similar. I can, yeah. I post a lot of stuff to my website. You can find that at it's FENIX646.wixsite.com/artbook. I'll leave a link in the description. And I post a lot of stuff there. But I can certainly, you know, if people are interested in getting prints or whatever, I can arrange for that. Now, the nose, you got the cone shape of the nose, so you gotta make sure that it still has that triangle shape to it. But it's also pointing towards us, so that makes it a little trickier. Bring this fist down a little bit. Oh! Oh, interesting. Sure. How about you contact me through my website? I've got a contact page. You can send me your info, and I will, and we can arrange for that to happen. And what I was about to say, some kind of big news is some of my art made it into the PAX reel at from my school. So if you went to PAX this weekend and saw the Art Institute booth, you may have seen some of my work. It's pretty exciting. I was not able to attend PAX myself because we had limited ticket spots available, so we had to dole those out to, you know, they prioritized certain students over others. And I forgot his tail. Let me bring that back. There we go. Little zigzaggy tail there. Much better. Echidnas, if you did not know, are mammals that actually lay eggs. They're like marsupials or something, I think they're called. Which I thought was super weird when I first heard about it. Well, thank you, King. I appreciate that. I would for sure be interested in sending you some prints. If that's your thing. Also, if you are interested, I am starting up this week an extra stream. It's gonna be like a Monday through Friday thing. That's just gonna be me working on stuff. It's gonna be a little bit less targeted than the Sunday sketch. I've got very specific things in mind for Sunday sketch. It's going to be a lot of breakdowns of video game characters and stuff. But Monday through Friday, I'm just going to be streaming kind of whatever I'm working on, and that'll be one of my that's one of my Patreon rewards. So if you're interested in that, check that out as well. Adjust that so the shoe doesn't look too weird. And I think we are ready for some color. Yeah? Yeah? That eye looks weird. That eye looks really weird. Let's fix that eye. There we go. There we go. Less weird. That eye looked really, really weird. I'm like, yeah, hang on. I'll just link it in the chat here. So there is a link to, whoops, what? Error, edit and try again. Weird. Oh, it doesn't want me to be able to link. That's awkward. But yeah, it's FENIX646.wixsite.com/artbook. That's my website, and you can find all kinds of things I've worked on there, and I try to keep it updated regularly. So thank you so much for checking it out. Okay, in the meantime, we're gonna put some color on this guy. We're gonna just pick up his red, come back down here, and if you've seen some of my other coloring videos and stuff, well, I don't have like dedicated coloring videos, but videos where I do color, I kind of like to just block it in and then use the eraser tool to pull it away, instead of having to draw within the lines exactly. I like to just block it in. And that doesn't work if you're using traditional media very well, but it can. You can get some interesting effects just by adding a little bit of color and then using different like paints and stuff to paint over the top of it. Instead of erasing, you paint over the top of that color to get your line definition. It gets a really interesting effect. I've seen it done a few times. And I don't have the means to do traditional media at the moment as far as like paint and stuff goes, but I am very interested in trying it out. Now, the eyes, I'm going to go ahead and do more in the lines kind of a thing. Do. Just occurred to me that's not Sonic music at all that I'm humming. It's Persona. I've been kind of on a Persona music kick lately. I haven't been able to finish Persona 5, but Persona 3 and 4 were great, so. Anyway, just kind of an aside. Okay, so that is all the, oops, gotta get his chest thingy here. Alright, now that is all the white that we're doing. Whoops, that is not the same red, as it turns out. Alright, and we're gonna pick about the mid-tone of his muzzle, snout, face, Start throwing that in. Alright, next up, the yellow on his shoes, and then we'll do the green. Kind of a lime green almost. God, his shoes look so McDonald's for some reason. That's what they remind me of. And then we're gonna pick a nice gray, like a middle gray for his, for the metal plate on his shoes. You want to pick mid-tones for most of your flat colors because that allows you to do some interesting things with lighting later on that you wouldn't be able to do if you had, you know, like the brightest tones. So I like to pick mid-tones, and then I can, you know, I can light things the way I want. And in a lot of cases, lighting is what makes the scene or the image really pop. It's those, you know, overlay layers and different techniques and things that simulate light. And now I just carve away the excess color, and we'll have our little drawing of Knuckles. And I kind of feel like people were like, you know, Knuckles was cool when he was sort of an anti-hero, or he was a rival to Sonic. So we'll just make Shadow we'll just make him a rival to Sonic too, and then he'll be cooler, but we'll make him edgy. Cuz Knuckles wasn't edgy enough. Knuckles was too nice to people. So we gotta make him edgy, because everything is freaking edgy now. I'm not necessarily hating on Shadow. I thought he actually was a pretty cool character when he came out in Sonic Adventure 2, but since then, I think he's just sort of become a joke in my mind. No offense to anyone who loves Shadow, but like he just has never been able to capture the same kind of and I think the thing that he lost after Sonic Adventure 2 was that mystery element going on, because he didn't know who he was. Nobody knew who he was. He just vaguely resembled Sonic, because apparently if you are called a hedgehog but don't really look like a hedgehog, then you're just Sonic. You know, the mystique just kind of, once you played through his arc and everything, the mystique just kind of went away. And Shadow wasn't nearly as interesting after that. Let's resize him just a little bit to fit in this scene a little bit better. And there we go, our three amigos. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Again, I want to give a big thank you to everyone who's joined me for this particular series. And I have started a Patreon, so if you have characters in mind that you'd like to see me try and break down and draw next, feel free to, for as little as $1 a month, you can have your voice be heard. I've got some things in mind for what I want to draw next, but I'd love to hear from you guys as well, and it'd be a way to support the channel and allow me to do this more and more often. I'll have a link to that and my art gallery website in the description on this video. If you are interested in picking up some personal art for yourself, I am taking 2 commission spots a month, and we can use the contact page on my website, and you can get in touch with me, and we can talk about the finer points and details. And I can definitely send prints. That was brought up in the stream. I can definitely do that for you guys if you're interested in prints as well. That'll be part of the pricing for the artwork. So again, hopefully you've enjoyed this. I'm probably gonna actually like do some lighting tricks and finish these guys off, make them look all nice and pretty. And you'll be able to see the finished result on my website later on this month. So again, thank you so much for joining me in the stream. Hope this was enlightening. Hope it was helpful to those of you who want to draw your own Sonic fan art. Go ahead and look through my past few videos for the few weeks I've been doing this, and I will see you guys next time. If I can find my button. There we go. Goodbye, friends.